Hello, everybody. This is your friend Velma Hagar, and I'm going to tell you first thing right off the bat. See that little subscribe button down there? Hit that little sucker, will you? And subscribe to my videos. In the meantime, here's looking at you, kid. Today I've got lemon water, and if you don't know to do that, you should. See how these lemons don't have any skins on them? I use the skins to make limoncello, and then I use the inside to put in my water during the day. Okay. Remember my last video, for those of you that kept up with it, the faith of Mama Hagar? Well, I started out to tell you my testimony because I was sharing with you that I love this scripture. This is so powerful. There's only one place in the whole Bible that compares the blood of Jesus, the power of the blood of Jesus, to anything. And it happens to be the word of your testimony. It says, "You overcome the enemy by the blood of the Lamb and the word of your testimony." And then my question was, when was the last time you shared your testimony with someone? And so I decided I was going to share my testimony with you. And as I started out, I began to tell you about my mother because I wanted to go back to how my testimony began. And I got carried away and I ended up doing my mother's testimony, which was beautiful. There's nothing wrong with that. She's in heaven, and I shared her testimony with you. But today, you're going to hear my testimony. You know, the other day I was called a Bible thumper. And I went, well, all right, I am a Bible thumper. And I just put thump, thump. I'll thump you right in the head with my Bible. That's the kind of Bible thumper I am. You don't want to mess with me. No, you know what, though? But I'm okay with it because you know what? I am a Bible thumper, for God's sakes. Why would I even I wouldn't be insulted by that. But I want to tell you how I became a Bible thumper. I started to tell you, I was raised Catholic. And my mother was a very solid little Catholic woman, and she taught us the faith. I hope you go back and watch that first video, Mama's Faith, because I started with her. So all my life, I knew God was there. I always knew. I used to say I served what I called the mush God. You know, he was up in heaven and I'm down here. He really couldn't help me much. But I still believed in him, and I did know that he was there. You know, I knew God was there. I never doubted that. And I believed that Jesus was his only begotten son. I did believe all that. Catholics believe that. But I never had a personal relationship with God or with Jesus. I knew they were there. I prayed to them every night. I prayed perfunctional prayers. I used to pray a lot to Mary, to the Mother Mary, rather than going right to God. But God knew my heart, and all the years, you know, I always prayed. Every night I'd lay in bed, and no matter what I'd done during the day, I never thought of anything except going to confession and confessing it, and then I was forgiven, right? And that was the end of that. But I'm going to skip a lot. I'm going to skip ahead here till the day that I'm 35 years old. I got married when I was 19. And my husband, I had 3 children, and my husband left when I was 35. And he made the decision to leave, and he went off with another woman. And I was in a dire situation financially. You know, I want to say my ex-husband's a good man, and I never want to say anything bad about him because you know what? You don't ever want to hold grudges of what people did 20, 30, 40 years ago. Or even 5 years ago, for that matter. If they've repented, they're forgiven, and so he is. But this is part of my testimony, so I'm going to repeat this. He didn't give me any child support. And I had 3 children. And I was in the most horrible financial situation you can imagine. I had a small little dress shop that was not making any money. I was working in the red. I drew $250 a month out of the thing, and I could barely afford to pay that. And I had a car that it was a leased car, and he left in October, and the lease was up in February. And so I tell you all that to tell you the desperation I found myself in. I didn't know what the heck I was going to do. And so the first thing I ever did right, I went and I got down on my knees and I yelled at the top of my lungs. I yelled, "Help me!" That was all I knew to do. I didn't pray a prayer, although it was a prayer. It was a help me prayer. But that was the first thing I did right. And then I went out and did a lot of things wrong in between there. I ran out into the world trying to find another husband. I was just awful. I did a lot of things I shouldn't have done. But then I'm going to skip ahead. So now I'm 41. 6 years has gone by, and I've been out in the bars looking for a husband. I couldn't find one. Thank God none of them proposed, because I probably would have married. But now I'm 41, and my girlfriend and I'm into everything. I've tried everything. But at this point, I was a Mind Probe graduate. I was an EST graduate. I read tarot cards. I read your palm, and I tried to see things in the crystal ball, but I could never see them. I did astrological charts on a computer. I was New Age personified. Everything except the Holy Bible. And I mean, I'm an expert. Let me tell you, I'm a real expert. If you're into any of that kind of stuff, you can't tell me anything, because I tried it all. And I'm real grateful I did, because now I can come to you and tell you I tried everything else and nothing else worked. And one day, my girlfriend and I, we were driving around in the car, and we were just so, I don't even know how it happened. We were so disappointed. We were discouraged. We felt hopeless. And one of us said to the other one, "You know, we're missing something. What are we missing?" And one of the other ones said, "Maybe we need to go to church." And the other one said, "Well, but the Catholic Church never did anything for me." So that, as we were talking about this, we decided we were driving down this street by my house, and there was this little New Age church. And so we pulled in, it was closed, it wasn't open, but the door to the secretary was there, and it was open, and we said, "Can we go in?" And we're weeping. Oh, we were such crybabies. And I'm 40. At this point, I'm 41. I've literally wandered around in the desert for 40 years, just like Moses. Me and Moses. I'm in the desert, and I'm wandering around. And she looks at us weird, like, "Oh, yeah, I don't know what you want to go in there for." But we did. We go in, and we sit in the front row, and there's nothing spiritual in there at all. Nothing. There's an American flag, and there's a bunch of folding chairs. And we're sitting there bawling like babies. I don't even remember if we talked to each other. But I could just imagine at this point that God must have looked down and said, "All right, they've had enough," Because a very, very short time after that, this girlfriend who I had gone to Fohi with, she went to Fontana. Actually, I met her when I was 10 years old, but she went to Fontana High too. And she had owned this company, the Mind Probe Foundation, that I had studied at, and I was just ingrained in it. It was the chakras and it was all the New Age stuff where you meditate and I mean, I was try to find your little helper in there. I was going through all of these things, hoping to find the peace that I was looking for. I was riddled with anxiety and depression and panic attacks and all of the above. And so I was looking for peace. I was looking for help. And so while I was out running around in the bars with all the men. And so now she comes to me, because she had moved away, and she'd taught me all this stuff, and boy, I was good at it. I could do all of it, And she calls me and she says, "I'm going to come to the desert, and I'm only going to be there for a short time, 24 hours, and I don't want any of the Rat Pack around." And we called all these single divorced women Rat Pack. We were out in the bars all the time, And I'm like, she said, "I want you all to myself," she says. And I say to Lila, "Oh my God, I think she's turned lesbian." I mean, I'm thinking she's really gone off the deep end, right? Well, she comes down, she comes in, and I take one look at her, and I can see she looks different. She looked pretty, actually. She looked real pretty. And she says to me, I had to come. I have to share something with you. Come and sit down on the sofa." So we sit down on the sofa, and she starts crying. Now, remember, her and I have been friends since we're 10 years old, and she's Italian also, and she's a Libra like me. We were real kindred spirits. 1 week apart in age. We were born the same year. And she starts crying. She says to me, "Velma, all that stuff I taught you in the New Age is a lie. It's all a lie," she said. And I know you believe that Jesus is the Son of God, but you have to pray this prayer with me. And so I'm crying too, and I go, "Okay, I'll pray the prayer." So she leads me through the sinner's prayer, what today we know as the sinner's prayer. This is going to be longer than usual. But it's my testimony, doggone it. You can always hang up if you want. And so she leads me through this prayer. I pray it, what the hey, and I'm crying. And so obviously the Spirit of God was moving on me. But as soon as we're done, I go, well, let's go have cocktails now. Let's go have cocktails. I mean, nothing changed. Nothing, I mean, I didn't have an epiphany at the moment and nothing like that. I mean, I would have gladly prayed the sinner's prayer because I believed all it was that you believed that Jesus was the Son of God. You ask him into your heart. There was nothing to it, And so off we go. And she brings her Bible. And I say, can I bring so-and-so, Lila, my friend? And so she brings, all right, so Lila comes along. And to make a long story short, she has Lila pray the sinner's prayer at the same time. Now, Lila was the one that I had said in the New Age church with, crying. So here God gets both of us at the same time. Sandra stays with me that night. One night, we sleep in the same bed, a water bed. All night long, this girl preaches to me. She tells me everything she knew, which wasn't a lot. She was a fairly new Christian herself. But then she leaves this little Bible with me, and it's the Living Bible. It's really a beginner Bible, and she leaves it there at the house. And she gets on a plane and she flies back. And nothing changes. I'm still looking to go out. And then one day, as time goes on, Lila says to me, I don't feel like going in the bars anymore. And I go, me neither. It was like, it was like we prayed the prayer and it took. It was like it took. We didn't say, all right, well, now we're saved. Let's make some changes in our life. No, we didn't do anything. All we do is pray the prayer. And little by little, just like God says, line by line, step by step, precept by precept, ye shall come to me. And so little by little, Lila and I are kind of like growing out of this. We don't want to go in that world anymore. We're not, there's just nothing in that world. And so, and then the summer hits. Now, this was in October. And so by the time summer gets here, I think to myself, I'm going to read this little Bible that she left here. It's boring at the shoe store in the summer, and I'm going to go ahead and read this little Bible. By this time, I'd done a lot of things, and I ended up getting a little shoe store that I had, bought by myself. And so I start reading the Bible, and little by little by little, it didn't happen overnight. It was a slow process. But probably a year later, after Sandra came and had me pray that prayer, you're beginning now to see some changes in my character. This is the testimony that came along here. And one of my friends says, by the way, I'm going to this little Holy Roller church. And she said, I feel so good when I leave there. She was Catholic too. And Lila and I say, take us with you. Take us with you to that little Holy Roller church. We always wanted to go to a Holy Roller church. So she takes us to this little church. It's nothing fancy. It's in a bank building. They don't even have their own building. And it's got little folding chairs. But we walk into this place, and this little piano player is playing, and they're singing this Christian music. Lila and I sit in the front seat at that church. And we blubbered like two fools. We cried. I couldn't even tell you why. This pastor was a witty pastor. He was, but the Spirit of God moved on us. And I had this big old white man's handkerchief, and I'm blowing my nose, and I'm in the tears, and Lila's over here blubbering, and she goes, give me part of your handkerchief. So I ripped this handkerchief right in half, and I give her a half, and we cried through the whole service. That was the beginning. That was the beginning. We began to go to that little church, and we began to get filled with the Spirit of God, and we began to, oh my gosh, we turned in. They should have put us in a hole and buried us for 2 years, because I became the most obnoxious Christian you've ever seen. You think I'm a Bible thumper now. I'd beat you over the head with the Bible, and I didn't even know enough about it to really be communicating. I was turning everybody off, and my family was saying, oh God, she's into one of her new things. She went through that with the New Age. She read tarot cards, and she had the Ouija board, and she read your palm, and now she's into religion. Now she'll get out of it, just like she did. Not. The more I got into it, I began to say, oh my God, I can't believe I missed this the whole time. I can't believe I'm 41 and I'm just now tasting a leg of lamb that's delicious. It was like, I gobbled up that word. I couldn't get enough of it. I was at church every time that door opened. I studied. I read through that Bible from beginning to end 13 times. And I read 8 different versions. I was like studying. I loved it. And I almost have to stop here because I've talked enough. But basically, you got why I'm a Bible thumper. Have I ever lost any of my enthusiasm? No. I would say to you, I'm more ingrained today even than I was then. I've learned not to turn people off. I think I probably still do a little bit, because that's my character. When I believe something, let me tell you, I go for it. And that was when I was 41. I'm 77 today. I have to tell you, I know as much about the Bible as I know about anything, other than maybe cooking and shoes, up there with it. But I'm telling you, I've studied that word, and the more I study it, the more I love it. That's my testimony, and I'm sticking to it. And if you know what's good for you, if you don't know the Lord, you are missing the love of your life. You are missing the best thing that could ever happen to you. Make Jesus the Lord of your life today, and join me in heaven when the time comes. And buy my book, Hidden Treasures in Secret Places, on Amazon, or you can private message me and I will send it to you autographed. What did you think about that? You know that I overcame the enemy today with the blood of the Lamb and the word of my testimony. And until next time, this is Velma Hagar bidding you a blessed day. Give your testimony to somebody. Give it to me. Send it. Bye.